All right, Derek, what are we talking about today on Integration Insider?
Well, I think today what we're going to do is we're going to talk about, I'm going to throw down the gauntlet today on a new anti-pattern in the integration space.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, so when we were planning this out and you introduced this concept of a new integration anti-pattern, I got to admit, I didn't quite understand it, but as we started to unpack it, I think it's a real game changer in something that people need to understand and some amazing insight for us to impart on our audience. So actually, no, we got to intro ourselves first. People need to know who is imparting this knowledge upon them. So this is Derek Marley. He's our principal integration strategist. I'm Tim Bieber. We're from Horton Cloud Integrations. We're a dedicated Microsoft business partner, solely dedicated on systems integration and specifically Azure Integration Services. So with that, let's just dive in. Tell us, what is this new anti-pattern within the integration space?
Yeah. So I like to look at it as get away from using monolithic integration platforms. So when we think about modernizing your integrations, when I think about implementing new integrations, let's move away from the large platforms like MuleSoft and TIBCO and Boomi, and because they essentially are one monolithic solution for all of your integrations.
Sure.
And let's move to what I like to call micro integration environments. So micro runtimes for your integrations inside Azure.
Right.
And this kind of came up, Tim, when we were doing the MuleSoft migrate conversation.
Yeah, the webinar. Yeah, we did a webinar for Microsoft. Yeah.
We got some questions back around like, how do we take advantage of the cloud adoption framework in the context of landing zones? And what are landing zones? Can you kind of do a deeper dive on landing zones? So to me, that's where that came from. Was I looked at landing zones as, in my brain, they're micro integration platforms, and that's what we're going to dig into today.
Yeah, no, it's an important topic. So we're calling it micro integration platforms or micro integration environments, zones.
Yeah, sure.
We're still trying to figure out what that name is.
Yeah.
Microsoft calls it landing zones. So that's really what we're going to unpack. We've got some screen sharing we'll do here really quickly.
Yeah.
Okay. Got the screen share.
Okay.
Take over, Derek.
Yeah. Let's jump on to the next slide there. So I'm going to take you through kind of in the cloud adoption framework, they have this notion of the assess phase. And that's really what I'm trying to illustrate here is we will go through the current list of integrations that are supporting the enterprise and figure out a way to categorize them.
Sure.
In this case, we're showing a MuleSoft production runtime. And as you can see in this one, what it really is really why I talk about it's an anti-pattern. Is this lists all your integrations, and I think in this case it's done alphabetically.
Sure.
So there's no delineation on what types of integrations are kind of working together. You're kind of coming up with convention.
I suppose you would just hope to figure them out as you weed through your list.
Sure.
One list, one environment, one monolithic platform.
Yeah. And so what we want to do as a part of the assess phase is let's start categorizing. So we'll go through those integrations and we'll move them into CRM and delineate on finance. And the other issue with this, what we want to start thinking about at this phase, the assess phase, is access controls.
Sure.
So in this monolithic, and it's not uncommon for all the platforms, it's kind of like you put all your integrations, and if you give somebody access to the environment, they get access to all the integrations. So in this case, I can have a certain set of team members that can touch and have access to the CRM, but there's going to be ones that, for regulatory reasons, I can't have them seeing the HR integrations. So in these monolithic apps, it's that they get access to everything. Cost management is another one. Like, how much are the CRM integrations costing us? We want to be able to delineate on that.
And it's also just difficult to have a breakdown of per integration or set of integrations to maybe assess it on ROI on them.
Yeah, and then policies, right? We have all kinds of compliance that we have to meet, and they're not all the same. CRM versus HR are going to definitely have different ones. But in this one, and specifically around MuleSoft, they don't even support that. Yeah. They have policies around API, like throttling and whatnot, but not really around governance.
Sure. So under the Microsoft Cloud Adoption Framework, basically saying they've introduced this concept of landing zones, or not introduced. I mean, that is the concept.
Yeah.
So that is the really exciting aspect of AIS.
So that's where I kind of tiptoe into what I call the micro integration platform. So when we talk about Microsoft's guidance saying create landing zones, think in my terms, I think of those as integration platforms. So I can have, in this case, I put all my HR integrations together, and I have an environment that really supports that, a landing zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have one for my CRM integrations, and I have ones for my finance integration.
Right.
And where that really comes to light for me is these 4 boxes here. So each one of those landing zones can be specific around the policies I apply. And I'll have a slide after that kind of walks you through some of those policies. But from a governance perspective, I can apply separate policies for HR versus my finance. And I think that's powerful.
Of course.
Again, in Monolithic, not capable at that point. Cost management, I now know what my HR integrations are costing me inside this landing zone, because that's where you manage them individually. So again, it starts to resemble a micro integration environment. If I wanted to bring one up around logistics, I can now apply different policies. I know what my cost management is, access control, so I can have my role management managed there, my network managed there. So I think that's where in this migrate or optimize or modernization of your integration, it's optimized already just by following the guidance of the cloud adoption framework.
Yeah, that's powerful. And so you're saying the MuleSoft just does not have this capability to segment in this micro environment kind of way.
Which is why in my mind's eye, I say that's an anti-pattern. Right? If I can't do it, and there is a better way, then let's be earnest in moving towards the better way.
Sure. So don't design in this new anti-pattern way.
Yeah. So I love it. I just wanted to show this one, Tim. So when I talk about policy assignment, again, each one of these micro integration environments, I can apply the different regulatory compliances here. So like here, I can apply my HIPAA, or I can do each
your
one
ISO,
of these.
ISO 27001. Yeah. I mean, that's a common one.
Yeah. So inside that one, like we can look that there's hundreds of policies that get applied once you say apply that to that environment, and there's 1,000 a part of that you can download, and then if you go to GitHub, there's more that are community driven to support that. So I just want to show like this is the capability inside each one of those landing zones. I can apply different policies. So I thought that was important.
It's extremely powerful.
And then the last one to touch on just is when I think about going to the cloud, and that should be seen as scary. And when I think about Azure, obviously we've got to talk about Azure security, with 3,500 global cybersecurity experts every year, spending $1 billion annually. I feel comfortable with that. So each one of those micro integration environments are secured in my mind's eye.
Yeah. There was a recent article that they've committed $20 billion to security over the next 5 years. Yeah. Maybe link that. But I mean, substantial amounts of investment spent on security.
So our goal today was to keep this one short.
Yeah.
Kind of hit all the points. Share my thoughts on this anti-pattern, which I hope is well received.
Yeah. No, I think that's insight that we've been able to impart to our audience that is valuable. Right. So with that, I think we just get back to work.
Let's cut it.
I think we did a good job with this one.